This is Sexy Funny Raw, where we talk all about the world of sex, from dating and relationships to the adult industry itself, answering all the questions you weren't even brave enough to ask Google. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a very special episode of Sexy Funny Raw. I am your host, Sylvia Sage, and I am solo in the studio today answering your questions, from the most recently asked to the most frequently asked. Let's dive in. First question that we have: Sylvia, what profession did you think you were going to have as a kid? And he also said, by the way, he's happy I chose this one. I will say, as a kid, I always thought I would be a lawyer, mainly just for the fact that I really like to argue points. And I thought, boy, I'm really, really good at making people believe things in the way I want them to believe them. Maybe it was manipulation, but I thought for sure I was going to law school. Did not happen, but I've played plenty of lawyers on the internet. The next question is, which workout program do you use in the mornings? I know a lot of you are watching my Instagram and you're seeing me run around with my cat on my yoga mat. I am very happy to promote this woman. I haven't met her in real life, but I have met her via internet. Her name is Heather Robinson. She has a YouTube channel. She does every kind of workout, 10-minute workouts to hour-and-a-half workouts with weights, without weights, yoga, Pilates, and everything in between. I highly, highly suggest. And like I said, I have met her via Instagram, and she is just as sweet as person as could be. And highly suggest you go look her up for yourself. Next question. How do you handle a scene with someone with bad hygiene? Well, it certainly happens, and it happens more often than you would think. A lot of times when especially our male talent gets to set, female talents have already been there for an hour, 2 hours, maybe going through hair and makeup and all of the paperwork. And a lot of times when our male talent shows up, they've either just come straight from a gym or they've driven in from somewhere that was a long drive for them, and just sitting on those little sweaty ball sacks can do a lot of damage. I've certainly had a smelly penis presented to me in my face. I just very politely said, would you mind going and taking a quick shower before we start the scene? My scene partners have never had any issue with this. In fact, most of the time when male talents show up, they do head straight to a shower. It's pretty typical for them when they get to set, but not everyone plays by the same set of rules. But I think if you just do it nicely, and maybe put a little pretty please behind it, you won't have any problems getting things to a better smelling progression start, I guess. Next question is, how much influence does the stage/film have on your private life? So much influence, both of them actually. Working in porn obviously has a lot of stigma that comes with it, working in it. So I'm constantly in an uphill battle to prove to someone almost my worth as a human, which honestly plays right into my comedy set. A lot of what I talk about on stage is going from working in a world of corporate America where I seemingly had a lot of success. And if you were to look at me from the outside world, I was doing well in life, working in hospitals, wearing scrubs every day, 40-hour weeks, just a pretty typical, normal way of living life. But I was not happy. So it goes a lot into my personal life and a lot into my private life. It's really difficult to, I guess, get to people to understand that you are a person and you do have genuine feelings. And lucky for me, I have comedy as an outlet and my own personal little stage therapist where I get to take it all out and get to talk about it. So huge impact on both of those things. Thanks for asking. Is there anything sexually you still feel uncomfortable about? So I'm guessing you're asking about my body, or maybe sexual acts. I would say 100%. There are definitely things about my body that I'm not comfortable with. my butt in particular. If you notice a lot of my scenes, you will not even see my butt unless you're just looking directly into the hole. I make that very much a part of me being on set. I back myself away from the camera on a regular occasion. I don't like people seeing my butt. I don't like anything about it. I don't like the projection of it. I've spent endless amounts of money trying to get a better butt, from injections to personal trainers. The amount of squats I do is second to, I feel, no one. But I just don't have the booty that I want, and therefore I'm constantly hiding it in a scene. And more recently, I think just the aging process alone has got me hiding a lot of things on set. From the way my skin folds in certain positions, or just even being next to a lot of the younger performers, I'm constantly second guessing how I am appearing on camera. But let's face it, I've gotten my second pair of boobs because I didn't think that my boobs looked big enough on camera. I got my nose done because I didn't like the way my nose looked from a side angle. I had braces as a kid, but now I'm on Invisalign because I didn't like that people could see gaps in my teeth from the side. So yeah, there's certainly a lot of things I'm still really uncomfortable about when it comes to putting myself out there on film. But at the end of the day, you just gotta get the fuck over it. You know, like nobody is perfect. And that's what I try to ping into my brain every day, that everybody has their own insecurities. And I just gotta roll on through life with mine and try and shove them as far back into the back of my brain that I can. But yeah, there's a lot of things I'm uncomfortable with. And as far as sexual acts that I'm uncomfortable with, I think, again, it would be anything to do with my butt. I don't like people looking in that general direction. So if I can avoid it, I will. But the downfall to that is I absolutely love anal. So go fuck me, right? Yeah, it's definitely not an easy thing to do. Next question. Ooh, this was one of my favorite questions, by the way. When was the last time that you did something for the first time? I would say last week for me, and it was acid. I had never done acid. I was with a group of friends for a wedding, and everyone in the group was going to take mushrooms, but I got to the group a little later. I was in my room kind of like recovering from my hangover from the previous night. And by the time I got to where everybody else was at, they were like, oh, did you want to do mushrooms? We're ordering mushrooms. And I thought, yes, I love mushrooms. They're my favorite drug. I would love to join in. But because I got there so late, the order had already been set. The guy had already paid for them, and they were already on their way back with the mushrooms. So there were no more mushrooms to go around. People who had already ordered theirs were getting their mushrooms, and I was just kind of SOL. So I'm looking around a little devastated because I'm not going to get to mushroom trip with the rest of the people. And someone speaks up and says, will I have acid? And I was like, okay. Now, I've never done acid, but this person convinced me that acid was a lot like mushrooms, just a little heavier trip and a longer trip. Now, I love mushrooms so much. You could convince me to eat mushrooms all day, every day for a month-long period, and I would be okay with it. So I thought, oh, a long mushroom trip, absolutely, I am in. It is not a long mushroom trip. Let me just warn you of that now. If you are thinking of doing acid and you think, ooh, fun mushroom trip, absolutely not. I wound up crying my eyes out for a good 2.5 hours, just a hysterical cry. And then I forgot how to shit. So do not suggest. It was my first time and my last time, but I did it. Next question. Do you feel like you learned more about yourself through porn or through comedy? That is a really good question because I feel like I've learned so much about myself in both aspects. Obviously, in the porn world, I learned a lot more about myself sexually. I took a lot of risk in the beginning. I shouldn't use the word risk. I took a lot of opportunities in the beginning that I wouldn't have taken in my personal life on my own. orgies being one of those. Hell, even just group sex in general. I had never even had a threesome prior to porn. I had never been with a woman prior to porn. I had done anal, but not to the capacity that I've done it now. Like I hadn't done a DP, which is one in your pussy and one in your ass, double penetration. I hadn't realized any of that prior to pornography. And I could not be more thankful because I learned that I really like a lot of those things, a lot of things like foot fetish or DPs. I don't necessarily love group sex, but at least I know that now. And so I learned so much about what I'm into and what I'm not into. And I'm constantly learning that through porn. I'm still learning all of the time what I like and what I don't like from sex toys or partners or things that other people are really into that I'm like, okay, well, if you're into that, let's give it a try and see if it's something that excites me as well. So in that aspect, I've learned a lot about myself sexually. Now, the comedy realm, I've learned a lot about myself in my traumas. Comedy will highlight all of the traumas in your life and give you an outlet to speak about it. So in writing comedy, I felt like I had to go back to my childhood a lot and kind of see like where all of my trauma responses were coming from, and just kind of reliving a lot in my earlier years. So comedy has forced me to learn my childhood self a lot more, and porn has forced me to learn my adult self a lot. So probably equally the same in both, and I am wildly thankful to both of my fields for expanding who I am as a person and really making me think and try new things. So a lot of fun for both of them. Great question, by the way. I feel like I've missed a lot of questions because you guys submitted so many. I had to go on both sides here, so we might have to go back through there. Next question is, do you feel empowered by your work? And does it depend on the day? I 100% feel empowered by my work. There has been nothing that I have done in life that has made me feel more freedom, more empowerment, both financially and with my time. There's the nice thing about working for yourself is you do make your own schedule. Now, if you want to be successful, that schedule is going to be very busy. You're going to need to keep yourself very busy in order to make that happen. But if you have that good work ethic in working for yourself, the financial return is so great that it just allows for such a life of comfort that it's so incredibly rewarding. And because of that, because I feel like I've built all of this more or less on my own. Now, granted, I have teams. I have people who help me with things. I've got my podcast team. I have my financial team. I have my online team. I have teams who help me with things. But all in the end, it is still something that I created. It was still a dream of mine that I had from the very beginning and made happen. So all of that is incredibly empowering to know that I took all my dreams and made them a reality. Now, did I know that sex and having a sex podcast was going to be a part of that? No. But I always knew that I wanted to change people's lives in some way. A lot of you know this about me, and maybe some of you don't, but I was a sexual assault victim from a very young age. And so a big part of my identity growing up was, hiding from that and feeling very ashamed about what had happened to me. So what I always knew as a little kid was that I wanted to do something that was going to change people's lives in a positive way, give women back the voice of their own sexuality, that even if your sexuality was taken from you, it's still something you can gain back in your womanhood and rightfully own again and make your sexuality your own and something that nobody can take away from you. And so, yeah, incredibly empowering. What is more vulnerable, being naked on camera or being emotionally exposed on stage? That also is a really hard question. Obviously, I told you before the things that I am insecure about physically on my own body. So there are definitely times where I feel very vulnerable, especially if I'm on set with a woman who's got a big old juicy booty and I've got to put my little flat pancake ass next to hers. It's definitely a vulnerable moment for me. But comedy is so raw because there's no edits. There's really no time for failure. Once you get the microphone in your hand, you've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour where it's just you talking to a crowd. And in my case, I always feel like I'm just trying to convince them to like me. So it's wildly vulnerable. And I'm coming at them with the story of my life. It's not like I'm coming to a comedy stage and I'm telling you a made up story. I'm coming to a comedy stage and I'm telling you who I am as a person. I'm telling you about my life, the struggles and how I've overcome them. And not everybody is going to agree with the things that I'm saying or the way that I've lived my life. So it can be incredibly vulnerable to be up there asking people to like you, telling them your story, and then just hoping for a good response. And you don't always get it. I've certainly done some shows in the heartland where I don't think that the message that I was giving was received quite as well as I was hoping. And it can be really, really hurtful when you have a bad comedy show, or at least for me, I go home with, such a negative outlook on what I've just done. And I'm kicking myself for weeks, if not months after a bad show, and how I get past that and how I move forward and how I cater my jokes to be more palatable to a larger audience. So yeah, my God, I think honestly comedy, because I still feel incredibly naked on a comedy stage. And thank God for editing in porn. And so I get to take my vulnerabilities and edit them out if I don't like them. Next question. What would you say to women thinking about getting into comedy and or women getting into porn? Obviously, it's going to be very different from one world to the other. If a woman is looking to get into comedy, the one thing that I would say is be prepared to work very hard and get paid very little. Comedy does not pay until you are a huge star. You are not making money for selling out a 300-person venue, which is what the Laugh Factory would be, the Improv would be, the main stores that you're thinking of, the Comedy Store, Laugh Factory, those are maybe at maximum 300 people. Selling that out isn't going to make you any money. You have to be selling out venues, large theaters. You need to be selling out 5,000 plus people to be making money in comedy. And it's so much effort between writing, rehearsing, stage time that you need to get in, traveling for stage time, all of it. It's so very exhausting, and there's so very little reward that is something I would definitely let anybody know, not even just women, men as well, trying to get into comedy. It's a lot of work, very little reward. So if it's not something you absolutely love, if it doesn't feel essential in your life, I would not recommend getting into it. Porn, again, I would also not recommend getting into it if it isn't something you're wildly passionate about. Also, I would say to any woman or man, do not make it your first career choice. Do not come in at 18. Do not come in at 21. Go give your life some experience. Go to college if you want. I don't necessarily think that everyone should go to college. I don't know that college is for everyone. I have a college degree, and I found it incredibly useless. But I do think you should go and do something else with your life. Have a different goal, go try some things, go try working in corporate America, go try running your own company, go try doing social media. Because once you get into the adult world, once you get into pornography, the game changes and you cannot go back. There isn't I'd love to try porn, and then maybe if that doesn't work out in a year, I'll go and work in cosmetics or whatever. Maybe you could go to cosmetics. I don't know. But you're certainly not going to teaching. You're not going back to a hospital. You're not going into more respectable jobs after you get into the porn industry. Porn is an ending mark, and you have to know that, especially the world that we're living in right now where porn's just become illegal in Texas. We're getting to the point where it is going to be more villainized, more criminalized, and it's just not a safe place to be if you don't have an end game in it. So if sex is something that you are into and you're down for it, and for me, I think if you're 25 or older, or maybe even 30 or older, and it's something you're looking to go into at that point, and you've exhausted some other avenues, then yeah, get into porn. It can be very lucrative, and it can change your life in a lot of ways. And you're surrounded by a lot of beautiful people who are very non-judgmental, and it feels like a very warm and accepting place when you're in it. But boy, is it a place that you are just digging your own grave. So try other things, go do other things. And if you still feel like porn is your avenue after you have exhausted other outlets, then come on in and I will welcome you with open arms and open legs. This is a question that I get absolutely every time I open up questioning to the fans. And that question is, what is dating like as a porn actress? I'm probably not the best person to ask this question to because I have been single my entire porn career. But there are a lot of people who have had successful relationships. I have plenty of friends who work in the industry who have had relationships the entire time I've known them. But I will say it definitely does make it difficult. Again, you are fighting with the stigmas of society that porn people are less than or dirty in some way. You're fighting a lot of, I can't believe you would date someone that would do that. It's a matter of not necessarily getting a person to fall in love with you, because I think getting one person convinced that you are a person and that you are worthy of love and that you are a good person is easy. But then you also have to now convince their friends and their family and anyone else in their life. And that can get difficult. Like I said, we're painted with this giant scarlet letter. And once you have that letter on, it is real hard to wash off. So it's not an easy process. I think a lot of times in relationships that I've attempted to be in, men find it almost alluring in the beginning, and something that's kind of intriguing and interesting. And oh my God, she's this big porn star. But then they get in it and realize that it's not as easy as one might think. It's not as easy on the ego. And it's kind of emasculating, I think, for a lot of men to know that your partner is so financially capable of surviving without you. I think a lot of times men in particular are looking to save someone. And when you find out that this woman doesn't need saved, it's just not the same ball game. I'm no longer Cinderella. I'm like, I don't know, her rich, evil stepmom. I don't know. But it definitely gets very difficult. And I, again, have not mastered it. So I'm not the person to ask. Just singly rowing my little boat over here. So, okay, next question. Oh, this kind of aligns with what I was just talking about. How do you deal with the stigma, especially from people who don't get that you're also smart, funny, and a multifaceted human? First off, thank you for saying that. Yeah, it is difficult to get around the stigma that comes with the adult industry. I think that's why I, for one, do this show. For two, if you follow my TikTok is certainly not one where I'm dancing or doing little, fun videos. My TikTok is just my real life, because I really truly and genuinely want my fans to know who I am as a person. I feel like I've struggled my whole life getting any individual to see me as a person. So part of what I do in my social media and in this show is really just try and be as human as possible with my followers. My Instagram is certainly not me being human. That's just a facade of all of the fun things that I do in life. But yeah, I definitely think just being real with your audience and having real conversations and giving them real peeks into your life of the things that might go wrong, as opposed to just highlighting all of the good things, which is what my Instagram does. So yeah, it's difficult, but that's how I deal with it, is just try to be as honest as possible. The next question makes me laugh. They said, do you have a dating roster? I think that you think I have a lineup of men that I'm dating. And it's interesting because I don't have a dating roster, but I do have a shooting roster. I have a list of men with average penises that I keep on my roster for shooting porn. Like the Nathan Bronsons, the Sean Alfs, who you've seen on my shows plenty of times. You've seen on this show plenty of times, both of those men and all of my OnlyFans content. Those are my roster. I like to call them my boyfriend dicks, dicks that are not too painful, and they come attached to really decent humans. So if that's a roster, yeah, I keep it. But probably not for my dating life. I will say that there are, like exes that I still have conversations with that are still in my life that I might, go to dinner with or something, but they're certainly not a roster any longer. I think Charlize Theron said it recently, and she was like, I'm shockingly single. You would be surprised how incredibly single I am. It really is just going to take somebody bold enough to step up and really take the initiative. But I'm not hard to get. Let me just say that. Next question. Is there such a thing as off the clock horny, or does work ruin the mood sometimes? There's certainly off the clock horny. I'm 41 years old. I feel like I am horny all of the time. I definitely have an incredibly large sex drive, especially now. So I'm horny all the time. I don't think set changes that for me. If anything, going to work only makes me more horny. I have what I like to call a Pringles sex drive. I could go forever without sex and I don't miss it. But the moment I have sex and my vagina remembers what penis feels like, she's like, hey, mom, hey. She just gets wet instantly and she's just like screaming and pulsing at me. And she's like, hey, you remember that thing that we had earlier? I would really like to have some more of that. More. So I'm like a Pringles can. Once you pop, I really can't stop. So if you fuck me once, prepare to fuck me all day. The last guy I dated actually told me, he was like, I have trouble keeping up with you sexually. And I was like, well, you shouldn't have fucked me the one time then, because it doesn't end from here. So I need it. So no, work is not ruining anything for me. If anything, it is just upping the drive. All right, we're almost out of time here. Last two questions. I don't know which order to go. Okay. Most exciting thing you have ever done? Oh my God. I wrote these questions last night, so I totally forgot any of these. Most exciting thing you have ever done? I don't know. Honestly, I'd probably say traveling solo to Australia. Nope, I take that back. I did travel solo to Australia and that was cool. But I will say probably traveling to Amsterdam with some friends because I met a big group of friends there. We all traveled, well, they traveled together. I traveled separately, but I met everybody there and we did the red light district multiple times. And I purchased 2 different ladies of the night and got to have conversations with them about what sex work is to them and what it's like being a sex worker in the red light district. And it was so very interesting. I learned so much. And like the price variances that they have versus what we have and like how quickly they're being booked for. It was just very interesting. It was very interesting because I learned that they book in like 15-minute increments, which I just thought was fucking mind-blowing. If I could schedule somebody for 15 minutes or less of sex, oh my fucking God. I mean, they really have it figured out, honestly. I think it's brilliant. And I loved meeting those women. So that was really cool. That was probably one of the cooler things that I've done, was going to Amsterdam, going to the red light district, buying sex workers. I didn't have sex with them. I didn't care to. I can have sex with anybody I want. But I wanted to hear their stories and I wanted to find out what it was like to be them. And it was really cool. Last but not least, what's better, porn sex or real sex? You think this is going to be a simple question or simple answer, and it's really not, because I have had some of the most fabulous porn sex, because porn forces me to step outside of what I would consider my normal sex life. So some of the best sex I've ever had has been in porn. A threesome with 2 bi men and myself, or I had 2 bi men, another woman, and myself. And to me, that sexual experience was so mind-blowing, because I had never been in a situation where I was with men who were also okay being with men. So I had never shared a dick with a man. And when I say share a dick, I mean like in a blowjob setting. Like my mouth and his mouth were on a dick at the same time. And I think I was just so mind blown by the experience that it became one of my favorite sexual experiences, because again, 0 judgment zone. Everybody was there just to have a good time. Everybody was there to like have the most enjoyment in sex possible. And that's what we did. But obviously, I genuinely find more of a connection in my real sex life. Majority of time when I'm on a porn set, I'm there to do a job. I do enjoy my job, but it's a job. I'm there for 25 minutes of sex, 35 minutes of sex and dialogue. And it becomes very 5 minutes in this position and 5 minutes in this position. And you don't get to immerse yourself in the feeling of I'm really into my partner. And when I'm with somebody in my personal life, I get to kiss them, make out with them, stare into their eyes. And it's somebody I really have a connection with, somebody that, makes my heart flutter, or, like gives me the feels in my belly. It's a different feeling being with someone that you truly and genuinely connect with versus someone you're getting paid to have sex with. So I don't know that I can answer the question of which sex is better, because damn, I've had great sex in both ways. And I am just so thankful for my career for allowing me to not know the answer to that question. So that's it, guys. Those are the questions. I don't know if you got yours answered or not. I really appreciate it, you guys. I know I didn't even get to half of your questions. You guys really overwhelmed me, but I did what I could. We even went over on the 30 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you liked what you saw today, go ahead, click subscribe. And until next time, guys, adios.